So today we're going to look at another subject in the area of biblical integration, and that is science. Now, science is another one of those subjects. It's a little easier to connect the Bible with. There clearly are some strong statements in Scripture of God being the creator. And since science is all about studying God's creation, there's certainly a lot of avenues in which to connect biblical truths with modern scientific study. I think the place where we got to start is we clearly see a tension between the evolutionary biologist world and the world where Scripture is the preeminent authority. And as a person that went to a Christian school, graduated from Christian school, and saw my classmates, most of whom ended up going into a public university, man, I saw them switch overnight from being a believer in the biblical narrative of Genesis and believing in, full-scale, billion-year evolutionary thought. And I think it just comes down to high school teachers are here and their college professors are up here. Now, I know that's stupid because I've been both a high school teacher and a college professor, and I didn't suddenly get smarter switching between those two arenas. But I get the perception that your college professor is infinitely smarter than your high school teacher. But what we need to teach students to do is being able to think critically. Everyone always seems to put their best arguments forward. I know that's what was happening in my Bible class. The areas that had really strong scientific evidences for there being a creator and there being a young earth, we learned all that stuff. And I feel like we didn't really learn some of the more complicated things that, your college professor is gonna immediately point out. We have to, in Christian school, deal with both sides of the issue. We need to point out this is an area that, a little complicated. I think the answer is there needs to be some more honest scientific inquiry and some questioning of these things. That is there actually good science, or is there just a theory thrown out there and there's no evidences for, which I think is what happens a lot. People just say things, a scientist says something, they don't actually have evidence to back it up. It just is needed to make this theory work. And so we need to teach good critical thinking skills in science. Some of the things I think can help is getting students to do some of their own investigation in some of these questions. I think some great sites to look at for younger kids is Answers in Genesis. They have a lot of things for a variety of age groups. When you get into higher level, kind of high school science, I would recommend the Discovery Institute. That's discovery.org. Man, they have some incredible scientific studies going on in areas of microbiology with like irreducible complexity with Michael Behe. They have other things in paleontology. They have other studies going on in geology, that's the right word, in geology and astronomy, not astrology, that's different. Some great studies on the privileged planet that Guillermo Gonzalez has done. So they just really have some incredible resources that you can use for the classroom and for students to study on their own, of not necessarily from a Christian perspective, just from a critical perspective, looking at, are there evidences for a creator? Are there evidences that there is a young earth and a young universe? And what we should be dealing with is evidence and science and looking at both sides of this issue. But don't forget that in science class also is a perfect place to discuss things like, are humans any different from animals? Are they more important? Are they at a different level of creation, being in the image of God, than another creation of God, such as like trees and plants? I think we can also deal with other moral issues. I think we can deal with concepts like the problem of pain. Why would God give us pain receptors that can endure difficult, painful things here on this earth? Why would God want to do that? Why would God want us to go through pain? So we need to not just limit that stuff for the Bible classroom. When this is being discussed in science, deal with those issues at that time.